Okay, scholars, welcome back. After your break, just all of you had a great um, break, enjoyed your time off. Um, this chapter, we're going to be talking about market research, chapter 9. Um, and that's very critical for marketers who are uh, trying to get their message across and who to get their message across to. Um, let's talk about marketing decision support systems. So what is the concept and purpose of a marketing support system? What is it? It's an interactive, flexible, computerized information system that enables managers to obtain and to manipulate information as they are making decisions. It has several characteristics. Excuse me. They include it's interactive, flexible, it's discovery oriented, and it's also accessible. Another issue that you have to deal with is database marketing, and that is the creation of a large computerized file of customers and potential customers, profiles, and purchase patterns. Now, this just simply means it takes into consideration demographics and everything when you're looking at this type of information. So what is the role of marketing research? It's the process of planning, collecting, and analyzing the data that's relevant to make a marketing decision. All right, so there are some things that you need to understand. First of all, it's descriptive, and that's where you gather and you present factual statements. Number two, it's diagnostic. That means you simply explain the data that correlates to what you're doing the research on. And it's predictive because it addresses a what-if question. There are some steps that are involved in doing the marketing research problem. So let's talk about those. Number one, obviously you need to define the problem. What are you attempting to do? Number two, you plan and design and you use primary data. Number three, you specify a sampling procedure. Number four, you collect the data. Number five, you analyze the data. Number six, you prepare, present the report. And then lastly, you do a follow-up. So your marketing research problem is determining what information is needed and how the information can be obtained effectively and efficiently. Love those two economic terms. The objective then is that the specific information that you need to solve your marketing research problem, and then last, whatever the problem is, because it's generally going to be broad-based, that's going to use the marketing research that you are obviously doing research for. All right, there are some sources of secondary data. Obviously, this comes from internal corporate information, government agencies, trade and industry, business periodicals, and news media. Now, what are the examples? Number one, it saves time and money. If you're getting information from outside sources, that means you do not have to go and do all the research yourself. Number two, it aids in determining direction for your primary data collection. It pinpoints the kind of people that you want to approach, and it also serves as a basis of comparison for other people. Now, there are also some disadvantages, sadly, like anything else. It may not give you adequate detailed information. It may not be on target with the research problem, and the quality and accuracy of the data may pose a problem. And here's why. Because if you're using secondary data, you're using it from somewhere else, and there's always that potential that it could be outdated. So that is a disadvantage. Obviously, now we have a new age of secondary information, and where do we get that? The internet. It's eliminated a lot of the drudgery that's associated with collecting secondary data. Primary data. This is information that's collected for the first time. It's used for solving a particular problem that's under investigation. Now, there are some advantages. It answers a specific research question. The data is current. The source of the data is known. In other words, you know exactly where you're getting this data from when you're doing the research. And lastly, secrecy can be maintained. The primary disadvantage of using primary data, it is expensive. It's expensive for you to do in-house collecting of data and then to to take that information. Now, many times the disadvantages are usually offset by the advantages of primary data. Survey research, that is the most popular technique for gathering data in which researchers interact with people to obtain facts, opinions, and attitudes. Now, I know we all at some point in time in our life have answered or done a survey, and these people are just basically gathering information on your likes, dislikes, your attitudes. So that's where a lot of information comes from. All right, there are the forms of survey research: in-home interviews, mail intercept interviews, telephone interviews, mail surveys, executive interviews, and then you have focus groups. Now, questions can be designed to be open-ended, close-ended, or a scaled response. Read the book and you'll understand those particular concepts. When you're doing a questionnaire, when you design it, it needs to be clear and concise. Don't use ambiguous language. Avoid leading questions and avoid two questions in one, because if you do put two questions, you're not going to get a very accurate answer. Now, another thing is observation research. That's where you rely on four types of observation: people watching people, people watching an activity, machines watching people, or machines watching an activity. Observational research can be broken down into mystery shoppers. These are people who go around shopping and gather data about a store. And then behavioral targeting is a form of observation marketing that uses data mining coupled with identifying web servers at IP address. Then you have ethnographic. This is the study of human behavior in its natural context. It involves observation of behavior and physical setting. There are two things: ethnographic. All right, virtual shopping. What are the advantages of virtual shopping? It creates an environment that has a realistic level of complexity and variety, allows quick setup and ordering of tests. It doesn't cost a lot to do it, and it's very flexible. Now, there's also the experiments that are used to gather research. Now, there are some variables that have to take place: price, package design, shelf space, advertising theme, and then advertising expenditures. Now, when you're doing a sampling procedure, you look at the universe or look at your group as a whole, then you take a sample. Then you determine the probability of the samples and also the non-probability samples. All right. Again, read the section on probability and non-probability samples. What is a probability sample? It's a sample in which element of the population has a known statistical likelihood of being selected. A random sample is a sample arranged so that every element of the population has an equal chance. Now, you're going to get some errors. There are always errors that occur when you do some type of research. You can have a measurement error when there's a difference between the information desired and the information provided by the process. You can have a sampling error. That's when the sample somehow does not represent the target population. A frame error is when a sample is drawn from a population differs from the target, and a random area because a selected sample is an imperfect representation of the overall population. Now, when collecting data occurs, there are field service firms that can do some of this. They generally provide the facilities for the focus groups. They can do mall intercept locations. They do test product storage, and they also can do kitchen facilities. There are several methods to analyzing the data. Number one is a cross-tabulation, which they analyze the data that lets them look at the resources to a specific question in relation to the responses to one or more of the other questions. Then there's a follow-up. Now, what is the impact of internet on marketing research? Under appropriate conditions, it can represent the entire population. It has replaced computer-assisted telephone interviewing, and it's rated as having the greatest potential for future growth. Now, there are some advantages to internet surveys. It's real-time reporting. They're reduced cost. You can personalize the questions in the data. There's generally an improved response, and you have a lot of contact with those who are hard to reach. I mean, how many times have you tried to call someone, so you never get them? Methods of collecting online surveys. You have web survey systems, design and web hosting sites, and online panel surveys. The advantages: you have better participation rate. It's very cost effective. There's generally a broad geographic scope, accessibility, and generally speaking, most people are honest when they do one of these type of research. Now, some of you may have in the past received some type of text message based research. Allows researchers to text a basic question. You can then the people who are targeted can then quickly follow up to the responders. This is a very wide demographic reach, and you also get lots of high feedback rates. You also have blogging assignments. So what is the role of consumer-generated media research? It comes from various sources, and it's trusted more than traditional advertising. We also have scanner-based. That's where information is gathered from a single group by simply monitoring the advertising promotion and the pricing they're exposed to in the things. They do a behavior scan and some type of info scan. Now, let's just answer this question. When should marketing research be conducted? It's going to depend entirely on the manager's perception of its quality, price, and timing. Those are three main factors, and so you need to consider that. Competitive intelligence. Let's talk on this for just a second. It's an intelligence system that helps managers assess their competition and vendors in order to become more efficient and effective competitors. Now, we all know that one of the things about competitive advantages is being able to offer something that your competitor is not. So with that being said, it is critical that you have the knowledge and understanding of exactly what you're doing. Now, you have sources of competitive intelligence: the internet, UTC filings, salespeople of the company, suppliers, industry experts, periodicals, consultants, yellow pages, trade shows, and then again government agencies. Go ahead and remember, be sure and do your post. Do the first one by Wednesday so people will have something to respond to. And with that being said, have a wonderful week.